This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome. This is a webinar intended for potential applicants for the competition 325L. I want to thank you for your interest in this new discretionary grant program intended to support leadership development programs aimed at increasing the capacity of leaders to improve systems serving children with disabilities. My name is Sarah Allen. I'm joined today by my colleague, Letitia Putney, and we'd like to use this opportunity to provide some information about an orientation, some information about the application requirements and process. Notes for today's webinar. I'd like to make note that the slides being used in this webinar are provided as guidance only. The information found in the notice inviting applications for 84325L, the Leadership Development Programs Grant Competition, will be summarized during this webinar due to logistics. I strongly encourage you to read the entire notice carefully, along with the Dear Applicant letter, the instructions and reference materials provided in the application package, related statutes and regulations, and any other materials related to this competition. You also may be interested in reviewing the recorded webinar titled Applying for Office of Special Education Programs Discretionary Grants for additional information on application requirements and submission instructions. That webinar is posted on the OSEP Ideas That Work website under Resources for Grantees. The link is shown here. The agenda for today's webinar is to review the 325L application, absolute priority and competitive preference priority, the eligibility selection criteria and application requirements, and then to take a look at some additional information about budget requirements, application preparation requirements, and submission information as a way to help potential applicants understand the competition for new awards. The purpose of the Personnel Development Program aligns with this new competition. 325L is a discretionary grant program intended to support leadership development programs and will be funded under the department's Personnel Development Program that is administered by OSEP. As such, the purpose of this discretionary grant program aligns with the purpose of the larger Personnel Development Program, which is authorized under Part D of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and is intended to help address state-identified needs for personnel to work with children, including infants, toddlers, and youth with disabilities, and to ensure that those personnel have the necessary skills and knowledge derived from practices that have been determined through scientifically based research to be successful in serving those children. As we take a close look at the 325L grant program, please keep in mind the purpose of the larger Personnel Development Program itself and consider how a proposed project for 325L aligns. Let's take a look at the absolute priority for 325L. It's important to note that applicants must address the absolute priority outlined in this notice inviting applications that was published in the Federal Register. As stated, we will consider only applications that meet this priority. Specifically, the absolute priority for the 325L grant program is to support leadership development programs aimed at increasing the capacity of leaders to improve systems serving children with disabilities and their families. To meet the absolute priority, applicants must, at a minimum, achieve the following expected outcomes: development, improvement, or expansion of a high-quality, sustainable leadership development program to recruit, build the capacity of, and retain a network of leaders at the state, regional, or local level to improve systems serving children with disabilities and their families. Second, development, improvement, or expansion of the infrastructure and implementation supports, which for the purposes of this priority mean effective methods of changing practices, organizational structure, and systems at all levels, including but not limited to partnerships with relevant child-serving agencies and diverse stakeholders, including IHEs, potentially OSEP-funded parent training information centers, community parent resource centers, state and local level administrators, technical assistance providers, and others to deliver and sustain those leadership development programs. And finally, an expected outcome is that these programs will increase the number of early intervention and special education leaders at the state, regional, or local level with the knowledge and skills and competencies to improve systems serving children with disabilities and their families. To be considered for funding under this absolute priority, applicants must demonstrate in the narrative section of their application under significance how the proposed project will, number one, address the needs of early intervention or special education leaders at the state, regional, or local level with the knowledge, skills, and competencies to improve systems serving children with disability and their families. In the notice, you will find that to meet this requirement, the application must present relevant data demonstrating the need to increase the number of leaders with the knowledge, skills, and competencies to improve systems serving children with disabilities. It must identify the knowledge, skills, and competencies that leaders need to improve systems. It must identify current educational issues and policy initiatives at the federal, state, regional, and local levels that leaders need to understand. In addition, under significance, the proposed project will need to demonstrate the need for infrastructure and implementation supports, including partnerships with relevant child-serving agencies and diverse stakeholders, to effectively develop, deliver, and sustain leadership development programs, to recruit, increase the capacity of, and retain a network of leaders with the knowledge, skills, and competencies to improve systems serving children with disabilities and their families. Again, in the notice inviting applications, it is specified that to meet this requirement, the applicant must present data as applicable on the quality of existing leadership development programs or personnel preparation degree programs that are preparing leaders, including the effectiveness of those programs at increasing knowledge, skills, and competencies, and retaining program completers to work as administrators or in leadership positions in systems where children receive early intervention or special education services. In addition, the applicant must present information on their current capacity to recruit, increase the capacity of, and retain leaders. To meet the absolute priority and be considered for funding under this notice, applicants must demonstrate in the narrative section significance, which we just talked about, and now quality of project services. Under quality of project services, the proposed project will ensure equal access and treatment for members of groups that have been traditionally underrepresented based on race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. The proposed project will achieve its goals and objectives and intended outcomes. And in doing so, to meet this requirement, applicants must provide measurable intended project outcomes and a logic model by which the proposed project will achieve those outcomes. Number 3, the proposed project will use a conceptual framework to develop project plans and activities, describe underlying theories, demonstrate the linkage between those variables and empirical support for this framework. Continuing under quality of project services, number 4, to be considered for funding under this absolute priority, the proposed project will describe how it plans to develop, improve, or expand a leadership development program or programs to recruit, increase the capacity of, and retain leaders at the state, regional, or local level. In doing so, to demonstrate the quality of the proposed program, the applicant should include plans for partnering with diverse stakeholders to carry out the work. Please note, additional details are provided in the notice inviting applications. However, stakeholders must include, at a minimum, representatives specifically identified from institutions of higher education. So specifically identified meaning names, departments, roles, so not the university itself, but the specific individuals who would represent programs at that IHE. Additionally, consideration might be given to OSEP-funded parent centers and other child-serving agencies that impact and partner with the systems serving children with disabilities. The proposal should include intended participants, describe the content and delivery of the leadership development program, including how it will be developed and delivered and sustained. Please note in the notice inviting applications that applicants are asked to describe the knowledge, skills, and competencies that participants will gain as a result of participating in the leadership development program, which must include federal laws, state laws, policies, procedures, and initiatives related to serving children with disabilities, educational options for children with disabilities, and how they might support the state's efforts to empower parents to choose from a robust range of options, educational options, and supports, and how to identify those that best match the needs of their individual children, evidence-based practices for improving academic learning and developmental outcomes of children with disabilities, partnering with parents, families, and diverse stakeholders to improve systems change, implementation science, and professional development methods to promote the implementation of evidence-based practices and use of database decision-making, and leadership practices such as organizational visioning, collaborative decision-making, communication and conflict management skills, and relationship building and other skills, leadership skills that seem relevant. Under quality of project services, the proposed project should describe how the program will be implemented and sustain, how the applicant intends to implement and sustain the leadership development program, including the infrastructure and implementation supports needed, strategies you plan to use to recruit, select, and support participants, and strategies to fund, manage, and sustain the leadership development program. And finally, under quality of project services, the applicant should describe their use of technology as appropriate to support participants in achieving the intended outcomes of this notice. Under quality of project evaluation, to be considered for funding under this absolute priority, applicants must demonstrate how the proposed project will, number 1, evaluate how well the goals, objectives, and intended outcomes of the proposed project have been met by specifying appropriate methodologies, instruments, and performance measures. Applicants must demonstrate performance measures based on quality of the performance measures to assess the quality of the leadership development program, measures of participants' knowledge, skills, and competencies, and retention of program completers. Under quality of project evaluation, please describe how you will collect, analyze, and use data to periodically assess performance and continually improve the proposed leadership development program in meeting its goals and intended outcomes. All right, under the next section is adequacy of resources and quality of project personnel. To be considered for funding, the applicant must demonstrate how the proposed project will encourage applicants for employment, including persons who are members of traditionally underrepresented groups, how they will involve key personnel, consultants, and subcontractors with the qualifications and experience needed to carry out the proposed plans, ensure that key partners have adequate resources to carry out the proposed activities, and demonstrate that the proposed costs are reasonable in relation to the anticipated results and benefits of the project. For project evaluation, applicants must address how to be considered for funding under this priority. Under quality of management plan, applicants should demonstrate how the proposed project will ensure intended outcomes will be achieved on time and within budget by describing clearly delineated responsibilities assigned to key personnel, consultants, and subcontractors, how they plan to allocate enough time for key personnel and any consultants or subcontractors to achieve the intended outcomes, to ensure the project's products and services are of high quality, relevance, and usefulness to the recipients, how the proposed project will benefit from diversity of perspectives, including perspectives from families, educators, faculty, technical assistance and professional development providers, researchers, policymakers, and perhaps others in its development and operation. And finally, address the following application requirements. Letitia. On the next slide, Letitia will talk through the application requirements.
Thanks, Sarah. In achieving the expected outcomes, there are application requirements that applicants must meet. Specifically, applicants must, 1, demonstrate matching support for the proposed project at 10% of the total amount of the grant. Matching support can be either cash or in-kind donations. Contributions that organizations typically considered indirect costs should not be counted as direct costs for the purpose of meeting matching support. You can find more information in the NIA and other documents referenced there. Number 2, include personnel loading charts and timelines to illustrate the management plan described in the narrative. If the project maintains a website, include relevant information about the project and documents in a form that meets government standards for accessibility on project websites. Number 4, ensure that annual progress toward meeting project goals is posted on the project website. Number 5, provide an assurance that the project director, key personnel, and representatives from partner agencies will actively participate in cross-project collaboration and learning opportunities organized by OSEP. And number 6, include in the budget attendance at 2 and 1/2-day project directors conferences in Washington, D.C. annually during each year of the project period. Within this absolute priority, competitive preference will be given to applicants that address the competitive preference priority of matching support. That is, an applicant may receive up to 5 additional points for providing non-federal matching support. The points earned will be determined based on what % of the total amount of the requested federal award that is matched. Specifically, as shown, A non-federal match that is 20% of the total federal award requested earns 1 point. A match of 40% earns 2 points, and so on. Applicants must address this competitive preference priority in the Budget Information Ed Form 524, Section B, and the budget narrative. Non-federal matching support may include cash or in-kind support. Applications submitted under this discretionary grant program will be reviewed based on the extent to which they meet the following requirements. First, to meet the requirements of this priority, an applicant must demonstrate eligibility. Eligible applicants for this competition include state educational agencies and Part C lead agencies. In the narrative section of the application, the applicant must demonstrate how the proposed project will address both all the selection criteria, including significance, quality of project services, quality of the project evaluation, quality of resources and project personnel, and quality of management plan, and each application requirement specified in the NIA. Let's take a closer look for each. The notice inviting information provides important information on eligibility, applications, and the awards we plan to make. Please read the entire notice and read it carefully. There you will find information that you need to know. First, to be considered eligible for review, and secondly, to be competitive for receiving a grant award. Here are some examples of answers to common questions that you really need to know. For example, who may submit an application? Under Part 3 of the NIA, you will find information on eligible applicants. For this competition, as noted earlier, eligible applicants include SEAs and Part C lead agencies, and those are the only entities that may apply under this grant program. Another question, are the page limits or formatting requirements? Under application and submission information, which is Part 4 of the NIA, you will find information on the recommended page limit. In that section of the NIA, you will see that we recommend the application narrative not exceed 50 pages. If you read further, you will see that a page is described as 8.5 by 11 on one side only and with 1-inch margins at the top, bottom, and both sides. It is recommended that your narrative be double-spaced, that you use 12-point font or larger, and specifically one of several fonts mentioned. Another question, how many awards will be made in FY 2019? Part 2 of the NIA includes award information. There you will see that the department plans to make 13 new awards under this grant program. The project period may be up to 60 months or 5 years, and the maximum award that will be made is $200,000 of a single budget period of 12 months. Applications are screened based on eligibility information. Only those applications that meet the eligibility requirements will be reviewed. Please pay close attention to the information provided in these sections of the NIA. Following screening to determine eligibility for this competition, there is the technical review of applications in which each application is independently evaluated by 3 reviewers using the selection criteria shown here. We already know what is expected under each of these criterion based on the requirements for meeting the absolute priority. And now here, you are able to see how reviewers will use that information to evaluate the proposed project. Specifically, on a scale of 0 to 100, reviewers score each application. Points are awarded based on the relative value of each criterion as shown. In the notice inviting applications, and shown on the next few slides, you may look at the factors that are considered for each selection criterion. Under significance, applicants may receive a maximum of 10 points. There are 2 sub-criteria. applicants should address, the extent to which specific gaps or weaknesses will be addressed, including the nature and the importance of magnitude of those gaps or weaknesses, and the importance of the outcomes, especially in teaching and student achievement. In doing so, I refer you back to the information we already discussed about how to demonstrate significance in the narrative section of your application as they address the absolute priority. Under quality of project services, applicants may receive a maximum of 35 points and must address each subfactor. First, applicants should address how the project will ensure equal access for traditionally underrepresented groups. In addition, the following factors will be considered: the extent to which the goals, objectives, and outcomes to be achieved by the proposed project are clearly specified and measurable. The extent to which the services to be provided by the proposed project reflect up-to-date knowledge from research and effective practices. The extent to which the training or professional development services to be provided by the proposed project provide sufficient in terms of quality, intensity, and duration to lead to improvement in practices among recipients of those services. The extent to which the services to be provided by the proposed project involve the collaboration of appropriate partners for maximizing the effectiveness of project services. And lastly, the extent to which the proposed activities constitute a coherent, sustained program of training in the field. Under quality of project evaluation, applicants may receive a maximum of 20 points. Consideration will be given to the following factors. 1, the extent to which the methods of evaluation are thorough, feasible, and appropriate to the goals, objectives, and outcomes of the project. 2, the extent to which the goals, objectives, and outcomes are clearly specified and measurable. 3, the extent to which the methods of evaluation include the use of objective performance measures that are related to the intended outcomes. And 4, the extent to which the methods of evaluation will provide performance feedback and provide periodic assessment of progress. The adequacy of resources and the quality of project personnel will be worth up to 20 points. In addition to considering the extent to which the applicant encouraged applications for employment from persons who are members of groups that have traditionally been underrepresented, and factors that include the qualification of key project personnel, including training and experience, the adequacy of support, including facilities, equipment, supplies, and other resources from the applicant organization or lead applicant organization, and the extent to which costs are reasonable in relation to the objectives, design, and potential significance of the proposed project. Finally, the quality of the management plan is worth up to 20 points based on consideration of the following. 1, the adequacy of the plan to achieve the proposed plan on time and within budget, including clearly defined responsibilities, timelines, and milestones for accomplishing project tasks. 2, the extent to which the time commitment of the project director and other key personnel are appropriate and adequate to meet the objectives of the proposed plan. 3, the adequacy of mechanisms for ensuring high-quality products and services result from the project. And 4, how the applicant will ensure diversity of perspectives are brought to bear in the operation of the proposed project, including from parents, teachers, the business community, a variety of disciplinary and professional fields, recipients and beneficiaries of services, and others as appropriate. Now I'll turn it back over to my colleague, Sarah, so that she can close out this presentation.
Thank you. Just a few reminders. We want to reiterate and leave with you the following suggestions. Read everything. And again, I strongly encourage you to read everything carefully. The notice inviting applications, the entire application package, including the Dear Applicant letter. The notice is found there again, instructions for submitting an application, and everything in between. Please consider viewing the recorded webinar that shares information about applying for OSEP discretionary grants, and again, additional details on how to submit a grant application. Please pay attention to the details, the budget limit, the recommendation for page formatting, the requirements under the absolute priority. The details matter. I'd like to encourage you to submit early. There are several steps required in registering to submit an application and then actually submitting the application. Registering with SAM to submit an application is a process that may take a week and sometimes longer, so please begin that process as soon as possible. Submitting an application, you'll notice the deadline is very precise, 11/59/59 on the date specified in the notice, and it's a two-step process. So once you submit, then the application has to be uploaded. Please don't wait till the last minute or even the last day. Sometimes the process is slow, and it's unfortunate to see someone miss the deadline because the process was slowed down. So please consider submitting early. Ask questions. If you have any questions, please ask us. OSEP will host a question and answer blog at ed.gov under fund. It will be, the information is included in the notice inviting applications, and there your applicants are able to state their questions, and OSEP will respond. We'll post answers to those questions that we receive. We will not be responding to questions unrelated to the application requirements for this competition, but please check out the blog. And then finally, on the next page, you'll see contact information. If you would like to contact me, Sarah Allen, my email and phone number is there. I'm happy to talk with you and answer your questions about the notice. If you have questions about the use of grants.gov, I encourage you to contact the application support staff. You can see, again, their email and telephone number available here. But please ask if you have questions. We are very excited to offer this discretionary grant program and appreciate your interest. We look forward to receiving your application and an opportunity to support the field by funding leadership development programs. So thank you for your attention today and for your interest in the program.